Thank you very much, Focus Point, to have Zeiss here on this afternoon. So basically, you've seen that this whole thing that we have on this booth here basically is to really focus on the importance of comprehensive eye examinations. And you can actually see on both sessions, we actually have the part where we have the adults and also for the kids as well. Because we understand that whether it's whatever uncorrected refractive error, if you're having short-sighted or long-sighted, now these is very common nowadays, I know that. But the thing is, we want to really focus on giving the best, all right, to not just to adults, but to the kids as well. So this is actually relating to what I will be sharing today. You can see the topic here is Eyes on the Future, Protecting Vision Today. So today I will be sharing mainly on what is myopia. And with that, I'm going to further explain on how Zeiss is here to help you. Next slide, please. Next slide. All right, so before we go to the details of what is myopia, how is myopia being managed, so it's always good to go back to basics. So what is myopia? Now you can actually see from the picture here, now it's actually a direct comparison of what is a normal vision versus that of someone having myopia. Now, as you can see, for someone with a perfect vision, basically you can see that, everything looks clear, sharp. The people, the trees, the buildings, right? But for someone is myopic or has myopia, you can see that, all these objects at distance appear to be blurred. Now, the next question is, of course, to what extent of a person will see these distant objects to be blurred? To what details they're able to see an object apart from them? It also goes back to what is the degree of myopia that a person has. So obviously, if the person has a higher degree of myopia, obviously it's, even an arm's length is already a bit start to blur for the person. And then next thing is you want to understand is that how do our eyes actually see, right? So to enable us to see the world around us. So if you look at the picture on top, actually it was a direct comparison as well. Now, I'm not able to use the pointer here, but if you're able to see how the light is being focused on the surface here, if you can see my little finger here, now that is actually that, you saw the yellow semicircle? Right, that is actually our retina. So basically that is the most sensitive part of our eyes because it receives the light signals and is converted, right, to interpret and to send that information to our brain like, oh, this is what I see, all right? So that is a very important element that lets us to see everything around us, the color, the brightness, the contrast. But what about someone having myopia, right? If you look at the picture on your right, my left, now you can see that the light, when it focuses, it actually do not fall directly on this, what we call as retina. Instead, it falls in front of it. And that is why somebody who's myopic actually needs a pair of glasses or contact lenses with a minus power because, well, that goes back to how that lens is, how light is refracted, but it will help to push whatever the light that falls in front to fall onto that retina to help us process what we see and the world around us. So basically, this is how the light actually works, right? So that we can enable us to see what is around us.
All right, wow, thanks for your explanation. Of course, we do have a better understanding about myopia. So can you actually tell us more about actually the prevalent myopia, which is, and of course, what kind of impact actually affects on the children's life, and of course, why we would need to concern about this part?
Thank you very much for the question. So if you realize that this year, I would say actually myopia management, this topic has been around even for a few years back then. There are a lot of innovations that comes along the way by different manufacturing companies as well, whether it comes with any types of options that's available. So why is it important is that, okay, next slide please. All right, now I think you'll be able to see, this is actually the global map of all the countries, all right? So you can see that if essentially this is a percentage of what is the percentage of children and adolescents having myopia. And you can see that most of them actually exceeds 10%. And of course, there are some countries that's a little bit lower, maybe about close to 5%, but majority of them actually exceeds 10%. And even some, you see like 70%, 80%. So what does this mean? It means that this is a real, like what we say, a global pandemic. It's happening everywhere. And based on these statistics, the researchers, they actually do a predicament. They say that by year 2050, 2050, which is 26 years down the road, now it's 2024, right? That half of the population of the world will be myopic. Think about it, right? If you look around you, right, how many people that you usually see in there wearing glasses? Majority.
Actually, a majority.
Exactly. And some are even wearing contact lenses you don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So myopia is actually so common. So it's everywhere. And why are we putting so much focus on this? Now there's something that we really want to understand is that myopia, with a very high myopia, is not just about telling that, oh, I will need a higher I'll need higher power to correct my vision, then my glasses will be heavy, cosmetics is not so nice, I may look handsome or pretty. It's more than that. It's also on top of that, cosmetically it's not that attractive, right? But of course you can also have attractive glasses to make you look glam, right? But the thing is, what we are concerned is way beyond this. That is, there are serious complications that will relate to the eye health. And these complications I'm talking about serious stuff, right? That it will really lead to vision loss. And if that happens, that is going to affect the quality of life of these young generations. Because we are looking at these children, these adolescents, right? They are like, our children actually, and even yourself, right? Like, you look very young to me. So we are like, children, they are like our precious, right? The future generation, you'll be leading ahead of us, right? So we want to ensure that they have a good quality of life. So that would actually bring me to my next slide, please. Right. So just now I was mentioning about protecting the vision of our younger generation.
Yes.
So you could be wondering that why am I putting so much focus on that? So I intentionally show you what is the percentage of prevalence, and then this actually bring on. Then I believe the next question you probably wonder. So why is it that this myopia is growing so rapidly among the youths? What is actually happening? So here, I believe this is not very difficult to digest. So what I actually put here is, now you can see the age of the child. Now, on average, right, you can see now that is, we actually took 5 different countries. We do a comparison, all right? This is not done by me, it's done by a researcher. And they actually compare, right, to see the rate of onset of myopia. And don't be surprised, look at Shanghai. Myopia starts as early as 3 years old, although it's not a very high percentage, but 3 years old. Now, if you try to recall back your schooling days, 2 decades ago, right? How many of your friends around you actually wear glasses?
A lot.
A lot back then? Oh, back then was already a lot.
Yeah, usually wearing sunglasses are always the top 2 student.
Yeah, the first 2 classes, because they do a lot of reading, right?
Yeah.
That's also one of the contributing factors. But right now, actually, it's almost majority of the students are already wearing glasses at the young age. But what we are really concerned is about the early onset of myopia. And usually, right, primary school starts at 6 years old, right? If the child goes to kindergarten, I think it's around maybe 4, if it starts 2 years earlier. But myopia starts as early as 3 years old. And the first 6 to 9 years of life is very crucial for the child. Because, right, babies, they grow very fast.
Yes.
You try to buy them clothes like, oh, next 2 months still can wear. Today, very loose. 1 week later, just nice. Another week later, tight, buy again.
Yeah, it's like a cycle, which is
Yes.
a development cycle.
Exactly. So the baby is growing so fast. The length, the height, the size, the weight. Now, as fast as the child is growing, the eyeballs are also growing that rapid.
Wow.
Right, exactly. Everything is going so fast, right? And that actually brings on to my next slide, please. Right. And that is really one thing. Myopia starts at a very, very early age. And secondly is, I want you to look at this graph. This is based on the researchers. They actually did this research, and they want to study a bit more, to get a bit more understanding about myopia. If you actually have a child, now they're all starting, see, 5, 6, 7, all the way to 11 years old, they start at the same degree of short-sightedness, minus 050, which is less than 100, okay, which is considered, okay, that's low, all right? But try to observe, if I take 11 years old as the cut-off mark, I want to compare someone with 5 years old having less than about 50 diopters of short-sighted versus someone at 9 years old, same degree of power. What happens when they're 11 years old? Look at how steep the graph is for 5 years old. He ended up with more than minus 500.
5.48.
Yeah, so if you round it,
It
it's
actually
5.1.
drops like more than the bigger percentage each year.
Yeah, it's really so steep. And you can imagine, when he started at 050, the same degree of short-sighted as 9 years old, but when he's at 11, he's already minus 550. And the same, and the boy at the same age as him is only minus 150.
But you still need to include a lot of these factors also, right? Because
Yes.
the living, the environment, and of course the
Yes.
habits, it actually
Yes.
makes these figures, aesthetics even more grow faster.
Exactly. That actually brings on, which the next slide I want to share about. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. All right. One slide back. Okay, sorry, the next one. All right. So based on the two graphs, what I was trying to say is that there are two things leading to this rate of this myopia progression. First is this younger generation, they're starting to have myopia at a very early age. And secondly is that the earlier the age you start, the faster it progresses. So let me give an analogy. If you give a child, assume that a young child, you're 5 years old, he knows how to drive a go-kart, for example. It's okay, I give you 5 minutes, you try to complete 4 laps. Assume he can only do 4 laps. But haven't finished 5 minutes, already done 4 laps, and he can do even more laps.
Yeah.
So this is just the same thing, the analogy of a child that if he started to have short-sighted at a very young age, because the window time of he's given to grow is very long.
Yeah.
So it develops very, very fast.
More faster.
Yes, way much faster than someone who's 11 years old. Because our vision will start to, to stabilize, right? When we are around, I would say start maybe 11 or 12, towards teens, then the growth of the eye development will start to more stabilize. So that's why we always say the first 6 to 9 years of life is very important to the development of the child. And if you further look, we break them down into 3 different categories. You can see for someone who is actually 6 years old, right? So they have about 15% of the kids are actually having myopia. If those in primary school, around 7 to 10 years old, 36%.
36.
Yes, but for secondary school, 72 to 81%.
Wow, almost 90
Yeah,
already.
yeah, you're wondering, right? And out of that percentage, 81%, about close to about 80% of them actually are between 16 to 18 years old. And if you further break them down, now there's about close to 20% of this category actually are high myopes. When I say high myopes, is more than minus 600. Right?
Wow, minus 600.
Yes, imagine
Okay.
that.
Well,
right?
that's
they're
horrifying.
Yeah, and they're schooling, right?
Yeah.
So imagine when they start to go and work. Right?
600, 800, 1,002 plus.
Yeah, you will, yeah. But of course, when they start to go teens, that age, then it will start to stabilize a bit more. But that is why we say that we want to protect the vision of this young generation, because first to 6, 9 years of life, their vision are developing rapidly, just like how the growth of their body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next, please. Next slide, please.
Of course, to be shared, which is just now you did mention about myopia that actually causing, which is a lot of these statistics. But actually, what are the main factors that causing myopia?
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I want to share here, right? So what are the reason behind this? So first is next. Yeah. So it's on the age, right? Now, what you look at the green color is low risk, moderate, red is high risk. So if you remember the graph I showed you, 5 years old versus someone at 9 years old start with the same degree of short-sightedness.
Yes.
But the 5-year-old will end up at minus 550 when he's 11 years old.
Yes.
So this means that the first 6 to 9 years of life is very crucial. So if the child starts with a very high short-sighted power or myopia at a very young age, so definitely this child is at a high risk. All right?
Oh, which means when I was a kid or where, so during that particular age, we must extra precautions during
Yes.
that age. Oh.
Yes. And the secondly is on the parental myopia, meaning that what is the likelihood of my child having myopia? So emmetrope is a scientific term, it's a non-scientific term, it means perfect vision. So if both of my parents, my mom and dad, is not myopia, not myopic, sorry, do not have myopia and not myopic, right? Then the risk of the child having myopia is very low. Okay, but if either of the parent, either my mom or dad is myopic, my child, so myself, right, or me and my siblings, we have 3 times likelihood of having myopia.
Well, 3 times higher than if your parents is not having myopia.
Yes,
Oh,
yes. But
Okay.
if both parents are myopia, it's double the whammy.
Double
6
again,
times
double up. I see.
risk of having myopia. So you see, and if your both your parents have myopia, the likelihood yourself or even your siblings will have very high chance of having myopia. But that's not just one of the risk factor. Next, please.
Outdoor time per day.
Yeah, this is very important.
Okay.
Now, this is total opposite of the near work duration, right? Outdoor time, yeah. How much time the kids nowadays spend outside, right? So typically, we encourage at least more than 2 hours. When I say outdoor, I do not mean like going to the arcade, like, oh, I'm go out the house, I'm out the house, I'm in the arcade, right?
I just about to say that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
no.
tell my mom, Mommy, I want to go out more than 2 hours a day.
Yeah. So that arcade is not considered because you're still
Okay.
engaging with those digital devices and it's still arm length distance. So it's not. When I say outdoor, I really mean that going out to the natural sun, doing some activities with family together, do some great bonding together, right? Get natural sunlight. Of course, I'm not telling you that, go out when it's 12 o'clock p.m., don't lah, right? Because it's super hot. The UV rays is very strong. Don't do that. But when it's, when it's early in the morning or when it's late evening, when the sun is not that hot, the UV rays are low. Because just to share with you, there is something in the natural light that helps our eyes. So there's something that they release in the eyes, we call it dopamine, by the way, and it will sort of send a signal to our eyes, hey, grow slower, slow down, right? So it's a natural thing that we didn't realize that it's happening, but it's this natural neurotransmitter that's sent to our brain to do that. And one more thing is that, do you realize when you spend very long time reading at near, what is the symptoms that you feel?
This is always, I will face this kind of problems, which like you're a little bit dizzy. Then
Yes.
sometimes it feels like, oh, your eyes like a little bit dryness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So what is really happening is because our eyes anatomically as rest when we're looking at far, our eyes is not designed to only look at one distance. It's all distances. My arm length, my mobile phone, and even at distance. Because our eyes naturally at rest, our eyes is always slightly turned out. I'm not saying that you will see my eyes turn out, but if you really study the anatomy of eye, it's slightly on a relaxed position.
Yes.
But of course, you see mine is straight lah. If you see that it's a bit turned out, it could be some nerve issues, it could be some eye muscles. So that one refer eye care practitioners, ophthalmologists for further investigation and if treatment is needed. But at rest, our eyes naturally is slightly turned out, is to keep you at rest. But when we are reading, our eyes, the eye muscles will pull together for us to focus on what we are reading. So if you keep forcing your eye muscles to do the same action over and over again without break, that is when you experience eye strain, headache, dizziness.
This one actually not only happened to me, it happened to my father also. My father always look at the mobile phone, watching about the short videos. So actually sometimes, 头晕了. He will say like complain about certain stuff because looking at the mobile phone too long already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And next is on near work duration. So it's total opposite. You spend more time outdoors, you spend less time indoors. So when I say near duration, it's not just your gadgets are even reading, all right? So it's as long as any near activities. And just to share with you, right, this is based on a statistic. They said that if you spend more than 30 minutes, right, continuously reading, engaging with near work, for someone who doesn't have myopia, you actually have 1.5 times likelihood of getting myopia.
Wow, 5 times
1.5.
higher.
1.5
1.5.
times risk.
Oh.
Yeah. But this doctor say that, children say, since you say that, then I don't want to do homework. I don't want to, don't do that, okay? I'm not here to send this negative message to say, hey, don't do your homework, don't attend classes. No, I'm not saying that.
You just need to find a suitable way
Yes.
to release it.
Yes, correct. So it's the suitable way of managing it. So later I'll explain to you how is that parents can do some changes and encourage their children, to ensure that, their vision is not affected, but they can still excel academically well. And last is on the history of fast progression, meaning how fast does the myopia progress in a child. So for example, if today you send your kids for an eye check, minus 300, a year later, minus 400. So that is a 100 difference. So in the span of 1 year, the child short-sighted has increased by 100. Is that significant? It is. If it's 25, if it's 50, okay, negligible. 75, maybe watch out. 100 and above, something is happening, right? So that is why we really, I know that kids nowadays, sometimes they will tell, right, some kids are not all, they wanted to have the feeling of wearing glasses. So they say, I cannot see the glasses. So when they go for eye check, maybe just pretend like, I cannot see this number, that number, this letter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the parents think that, my son is, or my daughter is just trying to get a pair of glasses. But maybe, not every child is like this. Maybe the child is really having some issue problem of reading, catching up in classes. So, but what I want to really emphasize is that regular eye examinations, like what you have here right now, is actually very, very important.
Yeah.
Because we do not just want to, educate the parents, but we want to let the parents know the impact when myopia is not controlled is not managed properly, what are the complications that they will have on the later life, right?
Because precaution is always much more happening than cure, right? Don't wait until a lot of these problems already occur. Mommy, I cannot see already. Only starts to like, how about to save my child or solve these problems, right? Of course, maybe just now you did mention about the risk right here. So to be sure, which is currently, is there any more options available in the market that actually can solve this issue?
Maybe next slide, please.
Yeah.
So maybe before we go to that, I just quickly touch on the option. Yeah,
Sure,
on
no
this,
problem.
the risk, right? Because I feel like this is very important to let the parents know why we are emphasizing the importance of monitoring your myopia progression in your child to ensure that they have a clear vision and they can excel academically in school. So I know that these words here are very scientific, so I'm just going to make it very simple and shortened for you.
No problem, we can understand. your sharing is very more detailed, yeah.
Thank you very much. So diopter, right? So -3 and -4 mathematically is 100 difference. So that's one diopter. Regardless of what's the mathematics, so you get the difference is a one diopter. So why we say one diopter matters? If you look at this, these are real studies that they've done. They say that with every diopter increase, you have a chance of getting this, and this, which is myopic maculopathy, open angle glaucoma, posterior subcapsular cataract, and retinal detachment. So what are for this? Okay, all of these four about. I'll start with the first one. Myopic maculopathy. So you understand about myopia, right? Now, if today I give you a balloon that's dark purple in color, you try to blow it. All right?
Okay.
Is it easy to blow at first?
No.
At first, or?
At first.
It's very elastic, all right?
Yeah.
But is it easy to get the balloon to, become bigger as you blow?
Yeah.
Yeah. But as you blow and blow and blow to one point of time, you realize that, it's like the max already. And you realize the balloon, the color from dark purple, it changes to lighter purple.
Yeah.
You start to see that the balloon is being stretched.
Yeah.
Imagine for a child, if the myopia is progressing that fast,
Okay.
it's just like the balloon analogy. So it's expanding, and you see that, it starts to thin out. It's because you're putting so much strain. And that is what is happening onto your retina. And remember, retina is supposed to receive the light to process what we see.
Yeah.
So what happens to it? Damage.
Wow.
Yes. And if that happens, that is going to cause to severity, the loss of vision in a child. And one diopter increase actually increases 57% of chance of getting this.
Wow.
Right.
It's actually a very big figure.
Yes, it's
for
very
each
big.
the increase of the figures right here.
Correct. And not only this, another problem, right? 4 common problems. Open angle glaucoma.
Okay.
Glaucoma, doctors will often say that it's your silent vision thief, pencuri,
Oh,
They're
pencuri.
silent. Yeah. Why is it silent, right? It's because it's like racing against time.
Okay.
Patients that actually have this open angle glaucoma, they usually do not have very obvious symptoms initially. But when it already progresses very rapidly, when they found out the situation is pretty bad already. So that will result that, an intervention comes in, you're already on medicated drops. But the thing is, it's irreversible. And in fact, high myopic patients, actually, most of the time, the main reason of them having their vision loss is because of open angle glaucoma. Yeah. So I know that you can see that it's 20%, but it's one of the main factors causing vision loss in those with very high myopia.
Wow. Because when the figures break down like that, maybe we say, at least 20% not so dangerous, right?
but you think of the consequence, having
Yeah.
vision loss, right? And then how about the other two? Cataract. It's like you're trying to look through the world with a foggy.
Yeah.
So no matter how hard you try, everything always seems to be foggy. And the thing about this is that the patients usually having this problem, they will complain that they have difficulties in reading and also in bright light illumination. And it stands out to become 21% of every diopter increase will result a person, a myopic patient, to have 21% chance of getting this. Right, posterior subcapsular cataract, right. And last but not least is retinal detachment. So you understand how the retina is already. And do you have a wallpaper at home? A wallpaper. Okay. So wallpaper you stick on the wall, right? Sometimes it will peel off and you need to rectify it, right?
Okay.
Now retinal detachment is basically like the wallpaper. That retina, that most sensitive part of our eye to receive the image, is being pulled off. So, and the thing is, it's going to send signals to your eyes. Like some people say, I see floaters, I see a little bit of shadows, So that is actually, it could be signs of retinal tear. And detachment is when the tear, if you don't fix it early, it becomes detached, so the whole thing falls off.
It seems like a more serious question than the previous one.
Yeah, I think it's because the way I described, right? But
Yeah.
regardless of these four, right, neither of them are anything that we want to happen to someone who's
Understand.
having myopia, correct?
Because
right?
any of these risks actually will create slightly or even lead towards that serious case right there.
Exactly, exactly. So that is why I really want to take time to actually talk about this, to understand, to let parents understand, right, that these are the messages we're trying to send out. We're not just saying that we want to, give your children a perfect vision, but we want to ensure that, to ensure they have a clear, bright future for them to excel in school. It's very important that we want to avoid this, if possible, from happening to the child. Okay?
All right.
Yeah. Maybe next slide. So I believe this was what you have asked earlier
Yeah,
on.
just now.
Yeah. So what are the options available? So just to share with you, at the moment right now, there are a few methods. First is on auto-K lenses, autokeratology.
Autokeratology.
Yeah, it sounds
Wow.
very wow, right? Doesn't it? So actually, it's a type of hard lens. Contact lens
Okay.
is soft and hard.
Yeah, yeah.
But this hard lens is not something that you can get over the counter. Oh, I want this lens to correct my vision. Can you make it for me? No. So autokeratology is actually a type of hard lens that helps to reshape your cornea as you sleep.
I heard that, which is maybe when you're sleeping, you need to wear it on it
Yes.
to reposture your eyeball.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
So it's sort of because just to share with you, myopic patients usually have flat cornea.
Alright.
So it will have stiff cornea. So we help to flatten the cornea, reshape the cornea as we sleep, so that when you wake up the next day, you don't need the glasses or contact lens to correct it. But again, you can't tell, oh, go to the shop, I want this, you get for me. No lah. You need to get really proper eye examination and then you check your cornea curvature, and then they will custom made and prescribe that for you, and you need close monitor. Right?
Sounds cool.
Yeah. Now, second, you also have contact lenses. Basically, there are multiple zones of ultimate power to correct the distance for the vision, and also at the same time to slow down the myopia progression.
This is getting more normal nowadays because a lot of friends be wearing this soft
Yes.
contact lens.
Yes, yes. But I'm not talking about the soft contact lens that's for cosmetic, just correct minus vision. It's really, I would say, a specialty lens because it helps to control the myopia. And then we also have a pharmaceutical. So basically, pharmaceutical is just medicated eye drops that helps to relax the muscles that controls the lens in our eyes to focus at near. So it helps to relax it. And of course, again, it has different dosage. You can't get this over the counter as well. You need somebody, you go to the eye care practitioners that has the experience and the tools to do the measurements, and close monitoring are needed. And of course, they are right now at the market. They are not used solely. Some it depends on how severe the myopia is,
Yes.
and they will even combine pharmaceutical atropine drops, for example, with either of this, whether it's soft contact lenses, it's hard lenses, or even ophthalmic lenses.
I see. So now we'll be sharing is about this innovative lens designs right here. All
Okay,
right.
sure. So you must wonder why I put it so big, right? So I started off saying that I'm going to talk about myopia and how Zeiss is here to help you. It's actually on this innovative lens design. So we see that there are pros and cons to each of the methods here. Now, why I'm saying so is that if you have an auto-K is a hard lens, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've tried the auto-K lenses or a hard lens before. It's hard. So we put in your eyes, you will feel discomfort. This
Yeah,
is
I actually saw this last time at my friends.
Oh, okay.
When I was a kid, I still remember I was like a bit curious. Oh, why are you wearing this?
Okay. So actually, it's a hard lens. So
Alright.
obviously, undeniably, hard lens definitely will cause a little bit of discomfort at first.
Yeah.
But since we know that each of this method has their own pros and cons, but what if we take the positive elements of what we see the best and we combine, and this is how Zeiss came up with this innovative lens design.
All in one solution.
Yes,
Alright.
right. So we combine with this ring imprinted from auto-K treatment together with these alternating powers to help to correct the distant vision and at the same time slow down the progression of myopia. We further optimize, all right, we came with our own patented technology. And next slide, please. And that's how we came up with this myocare lenses, which is right behind me. You can see that these circular annular rings, right? Actually, CRR since is a name that we came up to because of how the ring elements is on the eye. So if I further break it down, right, just so that it's much simpler for you to understand. So there's actually two parts, right? First thing is correction on the central zone. So meaning that the distance vision is for a child that he's not able to see, we make sure that it's corrected. So the child, when he looks at distance, is clear, right? And the thing is, just to share a bit of theory with you, right? The light we pass through our eyes, it doesn't go at a straight line. Okay, but the thing is, for us to see clearly, it has to fall on the retina, like I say, to receive all the image that we see. On this retina, there is this particular point that receive all the image. We call it fovea, by the way. So this will give us a central clear vision. But what
Alright.
about the lights that do not fall on this area, but on the side of the retina? So those lights, and they actually did a lot of studies about it. They say that if these lights that fall to the side of the retina, they don't fall on the retina, right? But they fall behind, right, the retina, which is the side of the retina, fall behind it. It's going to signal to eye to, hey, grow longer, because in order to let the image fall, right? So it
Yeah.
actually stimulate the eyes, say, grow longer. So the eyes will actually grow longer. And this is what we're trying to avoid. And if we take the opposite, that is we call it as hyperopic defocus because it falls behind. Now, opposite, which is myopic defocus, if this light that falls on the side, outside of this central zone, if it falls, it goes in our eyes, it does not fall behind the eyeball, it falls in front.
In front of the eyeball.
Yes, it's opposite effect. Instead of telling the ball to continue growing, it will actually slow down the myopia progression in the child. And that is what the alternating brings to this functional zone management.
Something goes wrong with the management. I see.
No, not something goes wrong with management. Is that this management is a functional zone. It helps to slow down, instead of send the stop signals to tell the eyes to slow, hey, stop growing that fast. Slow down the myopia progression. That's why we say that if you heard earlier I mentioned to you about myopia defocus, myopic defocus, it's because we redirect the light instead of falling on the side of the retina behind the retina, but we do it in front of the side of the retina, in front of it. Because behind, it was going to stimulate the eye to grow longer. But in front, it will tell the eyes to, hey, slow down. And this, we want to tell the eyes to slow down, right? So that is that theory behind why we came out with this design. And additional on top of that, clarity on distant vision is very important. Ensuring that the myopia is being controlled, the progression is being slowed down. And there's also another technology I did not mention here is clear focus. Basically, is that you want to ensure when you actually give this treatment to the child, we want to ensure that it does not hamper their daily activities. So regardless of what direction they are looking at and what gaze, they're still able to achieve optimal distance, clear vision, at the same time help to control the progression of myopia from going that fast.
I see. So actually, Zeiss right here is providing one of the great solutions, which is solving the myopias right here. Of course, it's getting more interesting. So how do actually, with the latest innovations, actually how do eye care practitioners manage myopia with their parents?
Sure. Yeah, move on to the next slide. Okay, I'll go to that shortly, but just to share with you, remember just now I mentioned about ensuring clear vision for distance, help to slow down the myopia progression, and we also talk about ensuring the child is able to adapt to it fast.
Certain
That's very
stages,
important.
all right?
Yeah. So just to share with you the numbers here, based on what we've already studied, we actually achieve more than 90% for everything, ensuring that they're still able to enjoy the activities outside, they're still able to do their near work, they're still able to adapt to it. Next slide, which is what you asked me earlier on. Okay, so at Zeiss, we take very systematic, stepwise approach on this myopia management when it comes to assessment, treatment, and monitoring. So first is, of course, history and risk factors. It's very important because we want to understand, right, this child, is it having a high risk or low risk? So the amount of time they spend outdoors, the amount of time they spend indoors, even like the amount of short sighted that they have, the parents' myopia, myopic, sorry. So all these are the risk factors that we need to really analyze. Step number 2 is evaluation. You can see the picture here is getting a comprehensive eye examination. So you need to check not only the power that's needed to correct the vision, but on top of that is that sometimes they also use some medicated eye drops to make sure that there is no any unmasked long-sightedness that could occur, because a normal eye check will not be able to diagnose that. And on top of that, there's one, if you have time, you can have a look here. We actually have this axial length biometry. Axial length is basically the length of your eyeball. So that machine actually measures how long is your eyeball. And if you want to manage a patient, a lot of eye care practitioners will actually use that because you want to see how effective the approach that we have given to that patient, right? When I start it off and 6 months later review, is it getting better? Is it slowing down or not? Then we go to categorization. We categorize them into low risk or moderate and high. So for example, of someone with moderate and high risk, is actually quite similar to earlier on, is that the amount of time they spend outside, right? outdoors, indoors, what is the starting power that they have. If it's like -6, right, it's a severe myopia, right? So you know that this patient is definitely on moderate and high risk already, right? Then step number 3, 4. Now, so you already understand the history of the child. You do all the eye checks. You get all the measurements needed. You categorize them because you need to categorize them because you need to know what is the next step I should advise to give to this the child. So recommendation. So of course, myopia lenses you see at the bottom. Then what you see here, right? You saw the child wearing glasses. That is actually one of the machines from Zeiss. It actually helps to take very accurate measurements of every parameters that needed, like how the child wears the glasses, the distance, their comfort, to ensure that the frame that they are wearing match with the product they have ordered, so that they're able to adapt to it fast.
Wow, it's very advanced at this angle.
Yes, because we prioritize that. We're not just giving solutions to the customers, but we want to ensure that they can benefit the best out of the solution we give them. And you see the toolkits is actually encouraging them to have more outdoor activities, right? And last but not least, you have all the A to Z, you need to monitor them. Yes. So as I said, based on this categorization, then we will advise, basically, these are the trainings that we already give to the eye care practitioners, right, to have exposure on this myopia lenses, on what are the stepwise approach, so that they know when they have a customer walking into their store, they will know what are the steps they need to do to ensure that there is successful dispensing of the glasses to the patient and outcome that we want to achieve.
All right. So just now we did go through that you mentioned about history and different stages right here. So now is there any tips for parents that actually can prevent a little bit more about this myopia?
Yeah. So this is how I wanted to wrap up today's session, is that all these 6 key things parents should know. First thing is, try to encourage outdoor activities. Again, I mean natural sunlight, not going to arcade or shopping malls, but really outdoor. Picnic, family gathering, It's also a good bonding time for the parents and the kids, right? Natural sunlight, but don't go when it's 12 p.m. and it's UV is strong. Don't do that. Don't say, hey, Georgina said these are go out at 12 p.m. Don't do that, okay? You're actually giving yourself a high chance of catching cataract because the UV is very strong and is damaging. Yeah, and limit screen time, less time spent on the screening and the posture. Ensure that you have proper lighting. Means that white light, try to avoid warm lighting. White light is the best for us when it comes to doing near work, reading. Regular eye examinations, so at least once a year, right? And then healthy diet, eating fresh fruits and vegetables, like we say carrots, right? And last but not least is visual habits. How do you hold a reading material for the child? Is it too close, and are they lying down or they're sitting upright?
Wow, so actually you've been sharing about a lot more. It's like eye caring prevention is not only just myopia, yes or no, but it's actually a lot of these impacts, a lot of these objectives, and of course these issues that might create heavier myopia issues or early preventions. Wow, actually a very good explanation.
Thank you very much.
Of course, very good sharing. I hope that a lot of us is like, wow, we're really getting a lot of these infos right here today. All right. So, and of course, last, which is the sessions right here. So maybe, all right. And of course, we did understand about Zeiss actually having this innovation lens, which actually can create a little bit much more all-in-one solution in creating and of course solving all these problems. And of course, it's a very good innovation. It's right here. So I think the time for now is almost for the session. Of course, once again, greatest thanks to Miss Georgina for sharing the entire topics right here to let us understand better about myopia.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Miss Georgina, which is a very good sharing session.